It's a wonderful Friday morning, and you are welcome once again to our digital series. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where in the world you're joining us from. My name is Estella Hilda Anaman, and I'm the coordinator for American Corner of Hobart, and I'll be your moderator for this session. American Spaces provides access to current and reliable information about the United States through book collections, internet access, events, and activities for everyone. So today's session is dedicated to ensuring that you would have a secure and a joyful online shopping experience this holiday season. So our facilitator is Derek Brown, and he's a seasoned professional with a Bachelor of Science in Information Technology from the University of Ghana. His credentials include Certified Ethical Hacker certification from the EC Council and EGPT certification from eLearn Security. He also has 2 years experience as a former instructor at Coding Dojo and 5 years as a shortcut instructor in the computer science department at the University of Ghana. So during the session, we love to hear from you. Please type all your comments or questions in the comment box and they'll be well addressed. Thank you so much for staying with us. And now I'll hand it over to Derek Brown.
Thank you very much, Estella.
Alibaba.com for sports and entertainment.
Good morning once again. And today I am Derek Brown, and I'll introduce myself properly shortly. Today, our topic is going to be tips for a safer online shopping experience this Christmas. Obviously, we are in the Christmas season, and our aim is that we need to know how to protect ourselves from cyber threats during these holidays. So, first of all, I am Derek Brown. As I said earlier, I am a cybersecurity professional and trainer, and I'm also a retired software developer. I used to be very good at some point in my life, which is no longer exists at this point, but I used to be a programmer, PHP, Java, Python, for those of you that are conversant with that. I also hold certifications from EC Council, the first of them being the Certified Ethical Hacker certification, eLearn Junior Penetration Tester certification, and IBM Application Security and AI Analyst. And then also, when it comes to the fun side, I love music. I play the acoustic guitar, I play the keyboard. I'm still a beginner in both, as everyone says. And then my favorite song is Baby Shark, which some of you love. It's the greatest song of all time, and I always preach it everywhere I go. So to start things off, we are all aware the holiday season is here, and with it comes the surge in online shopping. There are so many things you wanted to purchase when the year started. And for some people, they did not want to purchase anything until it was Black Friday, and then the urge came up. And then there was that desire that it's time for me to buy something. I have to buy something by thunder, by fire. So we all have the moments where we want to shop, but then the holiday season is one period where there is a huge surge in everyone wanting to shop. In the past, we would all go to Kaneshie, we would all go to Accra, but with the emergence of online shopping, you don't need to move. You just go online, go to Instagram, go to Gigi, go to some of these shops, even go to Oraimo. You purchase what you want to purchase, and then you are done. So you could be in the comfort of your home and then just do all your shopping, and it would be at your doorstep probably then the following day or the following week. So we're going to discuss essential tips to ensure that whenever you are shopping online, whatever you are doing, you are secure, because you can never be too secure or you can never be too safe. If you are in your homes, right, you could lock your door, but then an attacker could come from a different section. I remember from the Accra Digital Skills Conference, we had a session where we had to pretend as if we were thieves trying to break into a home, and the amount of suggestions that came in were so impressive and scary at the same time that innocent people had all these amazing ideas to give. So in that way, from that session, we got to realize that irrespective of the security you have in place, there would always be a way to break that security that you have. So there's never too much security. So that is why we are here today to say that, hey, there are more things you could do, or there are things you know you could do, but then you might not be practicing them. So we are going to brush up over some of these things so that this Christmas or these holidays, we are safe whilst we are doing online shopping. And then probably in the subsequent periods where you want to do online shopping, even if it's not Christmas, you always have these things in mind and you would be able to protect yourselves. So why does online shopping safety matter? Now, online shopping exposes us to risks like scams, phishing, and identity theft. So if you are home and you are going to Makola, there's no way you're going to experience phishing or identity theft. But once you decide to use your phone, once you decide to use your laptops, your computers to buy something online, that means you are exposing yourself to new threats. So based on your ecosystem, you would be exposed to certain threats. So in this case, you are entering into the online shopping ecosystem. And once you get to that point, you expose yourself to specific risks like scams. Now with scams, we are all aware of the numerous scams that exist right now. You would be on your phone, you receive an alert, maybe your mom sent you money or your company pays you through mobile money. And then within 5 minutes, someone calls you and says, hey, I think I mistakenly sent you money. The question is, how did they know that you received money? So these guys are very smart. They have systems that are monitoring. It's not by luck, because initially I thought it was by luck because they mostly call randomly, but it got to a point where immediately cash gets into your account, you get that call from them telling you they've sent you money and they want you to check blah blah blah, trying to scam you. So it's one of the risks that occurs. And then there's also phishing. So phishing is a type of attack where you are put in a situation, you receive an email or you receive a text message, it could even be a voice message. And then that email or that message is trying to trick you to give specific information. Maybe the email is going to say that, hey, MTN has updated their security, so they need you to go online to put in your mobile money number and then your PIN, so that they would update your security for you or your phone security. Now, we are all smart, but sometimes some of these attacks can be very, very cunning and you may fall for it. So when you fall for these attacks, it doesn't mean maybe you are not sharp, but these guys are also extremely smart. So sometimes it could be too good to be true and then we fall for it. So that is where phishing comes in. You receive a message, you receive an email, you receive a voice message or a text message telling you to do something, trying to trick you into giving out information. If you give out that information, that means you've fallen victim to a phishing attack. And then there's identity theft. As the name suggests, your identity is being stolen, not because you give it out to someone, it's just because you probably visited a website, placed your information on there, and then maybe that website was attacked, and then those details were taken out. So for an attacker to use these details, they'll go on other websites to buy stuff. They may buy laptops, phones, whatnot, and then whilst they are buying these things, they are not using their details or their name. They are using your name, your address, and your card or your Visa card or whatever you use to make those payments. So in the end, when you go and check your emails, you're going to see a list. You're going to see a list of things you did not purchase. You're going to see a list of things you did not initiate because your identity has been used to purchase certain things. And there is a movie named Identity Theft. I think there was this woman who was named Tracy or something. And then there was a man who was also named Tracy. So that man's identity was stolen by the woman, and the woman used this identity to roam across the US trying to, it's a movie. So she took these details and then she used it she went into spas to book herself spa treatment. She went into hotels with that same detail. So she took the man's details and then she created a card, like an ID card with the man's details, but then with her face. And if I come to you and I show you my ID card and it has my face on there, you don't check, all you're going to say is it's legit because you don't have that time to check every single detail. So that is one of the ways where identity theft could be very effective, because not a lot of people check the details on the card. Because if my name is Derek and another guy has my details on the Ghana card and it has my name, my birth date and everything else, but then with his face, you are not going to verify or you're not going to doubt if it's really him. So identity theft is very effective and criminals use it a lot. Now, safeguarding your online experience is crucial to protect your personal and financial information. So if you don't protect yourself, that means you're exposing yourself to the risk I talked about earlier: scams, phishing, identity theft, and a whole lot of things I did not even mention. So it is your responsibility to protect yourself when you are online, because if you don't, that means your personal information might be out there, your financial information might be out there. And if it's out there, that means that you've exposed yourself, and any attacker could get a hold of it and then use it for their own benefits. Now, how do we safeguard or how do we protect ourselves in this period where we are doing lots of online shopping? The first of them is strong passwords. We can never say there's enough. We all know that passwords are important, but then we also have this excuse that if I change my password, or if I use a password that is a mix of letters and characters and whatnot, it would be difficult to remember. So we would rather not change it. And the unfortunate thing is that the same passwords we use on one website is the same password we used on other websites. So the same password you use on Facebook is the same that you may be using on your bank app. So in such a case, if Facebook is compromised, if Facebook is compromised, then that means those passwords you used, if an attacker gets a hold of it, and then they use that same password on your bank app or your bank website, it could work. Now, there's another slide I'm going to show that will sort of add information on what we could do, but then that would probably be later. So in this case, if Facebook is hacked, the details are taken, it is being used on your bank app, and then it's going to work because you don't change your password. It's always the same passwords. Now, assuming that Facebook is not hacked, but then the attacker wants to do what we call a brute force attack or attack. Basically, we are saying that the attacker has a list of commonly used passwords, and they're going to try each of them on your bank application. Now, in such a case, that is a brute force attack. That is a dictionary attack, or let's just, in simple terms, that's a password attack. So in such a case, they may not know your password, but then they are trying commonly used passwords. A password like I love you 123. Some people's password is the word password. They just change the S to $signs. It doesn't change a thing because the attacker could have a list of all of that. So what we say is that you should not use passwords that are commonly used, passwords that are easily guessable. So always make sure that what you have is a mixture of characters and numbers. Now, if you feel like you would not be able to remember these passwords, what you could do is to just use a password manager. So the manager basically manages your password, keeps them in a vault so that whenever you visit the website, it's going to automatically populate the credentials on your behalf. So you don't have to remember them, but then this app or this software remembers them for you. And similar to when you are using Chrome or whatever browser you use, Chrome, Firefox, Edge, and you visit, let's say, Gmail, and then automatically your password and username is being placed there automatically. Yes, that means that whatever browser you are using has an inbuilt password manager. The other password managers like 1Password, LastPassword, and a whole lot of others. So always make sure your password is quite difficult, because even if the attacker has not hacked one of the websites you are signed into, make sure that if it's difficult like this, it will take them a long time to brute force it or to go through a list of commonly used passwords to have access to it. And then also regularly update your password. We all say that update your password every 3 months and avoid using guessable information like the name of your cat, the name of your mother, your mother's birthday, your cat, your favorite football team. Most of you, if we check your password, it's going to be your favorite football team +1. You just add 1 to it. So if it's Chelsea, it's going to be Chelsea FC 1. If it's Arsenal, Arsenal 1. If it's so easy, do not do that. Use secure passwords or strong passwords. And then 2-factor authentication. So 2FA provides an extra layer of security. So if you have, for example, if you use your mobile money app or you use the MTN app and you want to perform a mobile money transaction, once you start doing, I mean the app, not just *170 app, right? So once you use the app and you want to do a transaction, they are going to send you a code, mostly a 4-digit code, and then you'll be told to provide it so that they would either approve the transfer or they would probably give you access to your account. So that message you received or that text message you received is an example of two-factor authentication. The first factor is the fact that you have your own password. So, but I think most bank applications now have that security. Even if you put in your password, they're going to send a code to your phone or the phone you already registered with as a text message, and then you have to confirm. Others also use email as the extra layer of security. So the first factor or the first layer is your password. After that, the second factor is the phone or the text message that you are receiving. So with that, even if an attacker has been able to find your password, they will not be able to get into your account because they need to also have access to your phones in order to have access to your account. There are ways of also cracking this two-factor authentication because it's quite I won't say easy, but it's doable, right? It's two-factor authentication. It's going to be a text message. It's a 4-digit PIN. So if wherever you are trying to sign into does not have certain security mechanisms in place, it's easy for the attacker to just keep pushing in 4 digits, 000, 001, 002, up until it gets to 9999, right? Now, it looks like that's a lot, but then it's a computer that will perform the attack. So it should not even take the computer more than 3 minutes to go through 000 and then 9999. So in as much as it looks secure, whatever system, two-factor authentication is an extra layer of security, but then it could also be compromised. So you should always make sure that hopefully whatever system or let's say your bank app has that extra layer of security on their end to also fight against two-factor authentication attacks. Secure websites. So now we've talked about passwords, we've talked about two-factor authentication, and then now we are talking about secure websites. If you visit a website, you notice that the S here is placed in red, meaning that is the most important thing here. If you visit a website, always look at the address bar or the URL area to see what is there. Mostly you would see a padlock to confirm that, yes, this site is secure. The S there means secure, and it uses SSL, which provides certificates for certain websites. So it's just like, to give an example, right? So SSL certificates, it's like, the SSL certificate proves that whatever entity you are visiting is legit. So if I'm visiting Ghana or if I'm visiting go.com, if the S is there, that means that they have a certificate that is securing every information I send from my end to them. And also that certificate proves that whatever website I'm visiting is a legit website or a legitimate website. So this S or this secure also means that if I send my username and password, if it's Facebook, I go on there, put my username and password. If it's being transmitted over the internet, that information is protected or encrypted. So during transit, even if an attacker is able to intercept whatever I'm transferring, they would not be able to make sense out of what I've placed there. It would not make sense to them. So that's the interesting part of this. So yes, it could be intercepted. You are not invincible to interception. It could be intercepted, message in transit. But however, even if it's intercepted, it would not make sense to the attacker because it would be in gibberish, or it would be just a mixture of numbers and characters because of this S that we are seeing over here. So this S is quite essential. So if it doesn't exist, that means what you're sending is just going in plain text. So let me show an example of what I mean here. So this is the username. If my username is, let's say, Derek, and then my password, I'm going to put my password here. So my password is also password. And then once I log in, it's going to bundle up this information if I'm trying to log in, and then it's going to send it over the internet. So because there's S, or the secure is here, this information has now been transformed, we call it encryption, into something like this. So you are going to see, this does not make sense. And then the Derek has been encrypted, the password is also looking like this. So it's very, very weird. Let me put some characters in there. Good. So this is the raw credentials, raw information. And then this is the encrypted information. Let's just use the right term, credentials. Good. So whilst this information is being moved from my end to whatever website I'm visiting, because if you put in these details and you press enter, what happens is it is being bundled up and then transferred over the internet to the target or wherever you are browsing with. So in this case, if the S does not exist and this information, and I put in this, my username and my password, it will be transferred just like it is, raw credentials. There's no encryption, there's no protection. So if an attacker who is seated somewhere here, let's say this is the attacker, intercepts this information, what happens is when they intercept the information, they'll be able to read it because it says that my username is Derek, my password is Derek. They will just go to that same website I'm trying to visit. They put these details there and it's going to work. But then if the secure or the S exists, what happens is even if they intercept the information, what they see is BS67 blah blah blah. It doesn't make sense. The password is also this. It doesn't even make sense. So even if they go on the website and then they put in this detail, and then this detail is going to say there's no user like that and there's no password like that because the encryption exists and is protecting our information. So that is a situation where we are being protected. So the S is very essential. Without it, everything you put on the internet is bare metal and it's very, very dangerous. So also avoid entering sensitive information on non-secure websites to prevent data breaches. So these websites, they are hacked all the time. Do not overestimate the security of your bank app, the security of your of all these big websites, Twitter, Facebook, whatnot. They always when I say always, doesn't mean every day, but then they mostly have these security incidents happening. They are not safe from them.
Hi, Derek. Okay. So Derek will be joining us soon. So as we move along, just drop your questions in the chat box and they'll be well addressed. Thank you. Okay, Derek, great to have you back.
Thank you very much. There was a break in transmission, but I'm back. Happy to be back. So moving back to what I was saying, there was a situation where I was trying to purchase something online. When I put in my details, they asked me a question: do you want to save these details on the website so that next time when you get on here, you don't have to put all of your details in there, blah, 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 so that it would be easy for you? Normally, that makes sense because it gives me that it's sort of convenient for me because putting in your card details and your address is very tedious. But one thing I know is that if you allow them to save it, that means your details are with them. And they may not use it wrongly, but then if they are attacked, that means the details you provided, your name, your credential, your card details, and then also your address, your location, and everything else would now be available to the attacker. And the attacker can sell it on the dark web, they can use it themselves, they can use it for purchases and everything else they want to do. So when it happens like that, I'm like, no, do not save my details. I would take or I'll bear that extra cost of always entering my details myself, no matter how tedious it is, because I'd rather enter my details every single time than to allow them to keep it to ease my stress. I prefer the stress than the security incident that would happen if that website is hacked. So do not enter sensitive information, especially when you don't see the S with the website. Even if there's the S there and you are putting in sensitive information, do not save the details, no matter how convenient you think it will be for future purchases. Do not allow them to save your card details. All right. Avoid public Wi-Fi for transactions. Now, this is where some of you would not agree with me, because we all have free Wi-Fi because data is expensive and on and on and on. But in as much as we love free Wi-Fi, we should also know that with free comes certain responsibilities and certain exposures. So public Wi-Fi networks can be secure, which makes transactions vulnerable, can be insecure, and that could make transactions vulnerable to interception. I explained right now how an attacker could intercept whatever you are transmitting. Now, if you are using a Wi-Fi that probably does not have a password, because sometimes you visit, when you get to an airport, some airports, you don't even have to put in your details. It's just open free Wi-Fi, just connect and move. So if the Wi-Fi does not have password, that means the information that is being transmitted is open to other people on the network. So anyone could just see what's happening because it's free and it's free and it's open. So if you have accessed it, if you've had access to it, it means that an attacker could also be seated around you and also have access to the network and just monitoring what's going on. So if there's no password, it means whatever that is being transmitted is not even like protected in a way. The S with the website gives extra layer of protection. The Wi-Fi having a password also gives extra layer of protection. But then if that Wi-Fi is public and everyone else could have access to, everyone else could just log in, that means that anything you're doing could be open to the public. So the main point here is, yes, you can connect to public Wi-Fi, but however, do not make transactions while you're on public Wi-Fi. Do not go to an airport and start to make a transaction. I had a friend recently that was traveling and then he wanted to make certain transactions, but I couldn't because he was a bit late. But in the end, he had to do the transactions while at the airport. And that could be a dangerous one because at the airport, you don't know who is listening, you don't know who is watching. And I mean listening and watching, I mean listening on the network, and then watching meaning monitoring what is happening on the network. So do not make these transactions. If you're going to connect to public Wi-Fi, just use it for basic stuff. Just maybe visiting a website, but do not do logins, do not do transactions. It's always very dangerous. And then if you are going to use public Wi-Fi, just use one that is secure, or just use your own password protected connection from your mobile phone for online shopping. If you want to, let's say you were roaming about, you saw this offer online expiring in 2 hours, you can't get home to do it, you need to do it immediately, and there's Wi-Fi, do not use the Wi-Fi for it. That's the main point here. Use your own hotspots, use your own mobile connection, and then do the shopping. When you're done, connect back to the public Wi-Fi and enjoy the free internet. Updating of software and devices. Regularly update your device, operating system, browser, and antivirus software. We say this all the time, but then we also have our concerns as people. We have concerns that the new update that is coming may be too large. There's a reason why we want free Wi-Fi, because we want to save on data. So if the update is going to be like 5 gig, 6 gig, even 2 gig, we are going to raise objections like it could wait unless we have free Wi-Fi before we are going to make an update. 2, we also have concerns that these updates could make our phone slow. Now, that is possible. That has happened to me before. The manufacturers or the equipment manufacturers are going to say that that is not true, but we are the ones that are experiencing it, and we say that, yeah, that happens sometimes when you are using newer software on our dates, let's say phones that I bet were produced several years back. So these concerns are legitimate, but however, with these updates comes certain things that you need to have. They could be security patches, which is in the next point. They could be security patches, and security patches are basically updates that protect your security. So they come in to solve a security issue. Let's say this OS was provided, this update was provided, but attackers have found a loophole and they keep attacking it. So when you receive a security patch comes in to close that hole so that attackers will not be able to exploit it. But in a case where you have not updated your software to have that new security patch, that means that you are still exposed to that particular attack. So in as much as we prefer not to update, in as much as we prefer or we feel like it's going to slow down our devices, it's too much data to do these things, we should also look at the security side, because if you don't have that protection, that means your phones may have already been compromised. You may be using your phone, it has never switched on you, it's still good, but then you may actually be exposed. So always make sure that you update your softwares, update your browsers. If you're using a browser, every single time they want to update themselves, yes, it's because it's not mostly about functionality, it could be about security. So don't update these things and also include it, and also antivirus softwares as well. Be skeptical about emails and then ads that you mostly see. You may see an ad telling you, 99% off, it keeps flashing on the screen, and then it takes all your attention because the deals are mostly unbelievable. You see a deal and you're like, I remember one time I made this purchase. I was like, oh, I'm not going to make this purchase in a long while. And then I see this offer and I'm like, it has to happen today. So some of them are too good to be true. I mean, sometimes they are true, right? If it's coming from a legitimate source and on and on, it's true. But then it also shows how you could make such decisions on the fly. You could decide that you're not going to make a purchase, but if the offer is very good, you could sometimes compromise it and make the purchase. The same way, attackers know that we compromise when we see unbelievable offers and unbelievable deals. So then they make these ads, they compromise, or they just put in these things. Sometimes you could receive a message, let's say if you have an Amazon account, you could receive a message from Amazon saying that you've been a loyal customer for over a year, so we are giving you $50 credit. Use that to go and purchase something. And then the Amazon logo and everything else is there, so it looks legitimate. They tell you that just log in and then confirm the offer. You are getting $50 when it's Black Friday. Are you not going to take it? You're going to take it because you already have things you wanted to buy that the money, it's like you're already there and then the money has just offered itself to you. So you take out this offer, you click on the link, they tell you to log into your Amazon account so that they could confirm or approve the $50. You click on the link, you put in your details, so happy, the link is going to probably either send you to the legit website or something, but that is where they capture your details. That is where your credentials are being harvested. So once you put in the details, they are done with you. Next. So in as much as we love these deals, we compromise when we see these deals. Always cross-check. If you click on the link, always check the URL to see if the link is suspicious, because sometimes it could be Amazon, but then the N is 2 instead of 1. Sometimes it could be Amazon, but then the A is 2 or the O is 2. Like, that is how they sort of evade, where they do, that's what we call typo squatting, where they intentionally change a single letter, and then you will not even notice that you're on the wrong website because the designs are the same, everything else is the same, it's just the names that are a bit different. And most of the time we don't even check. I don't think if you visit Gmail on your laptops, you don't even check the URL again because you know that Gmail is Gmail because you've been visiting it so many years. So avoid clicking on suspicious links and also verify the legitimacy of communication from retailers. If you are getting these emails, check the email address that it's coming from. Now, this would have been good advice several years ago, but that is not even legit anymore because an attacker could send you an email and it would come from Amazon itself. It could even come from, you see helpdesk@gmail.com as the email or the sender's email. It's very easy to just spoof or fake the email, the sender's email. It's very, very easy. There are so many tools that could help you do that. So just checking the email is coming from is not the only way to protect yourself. It could just be, literally, it could be from an attacker. 2, in as much as the emails are coming from an attacker, some of us would prefer to click on the link to see where it will lead us. You know, when the mobile money scammers call, and then we pick up, and then we are just trying to see how far it will take us, or see what they are trying to get at, even though we know it's a scam. The same way, some of us are very inquisitive, so we want to click on it, and then you see that they're asking for your details. You're like, hey, they want my details, I'm not going to click on it. Now, it's not the time that they want your details. Sometimes they just need you to click on the link. I remember one time I had a session, and then we demoed this attack where they send you the link, and immediately you click on the link, they have access to your whole browser. It's like they have access to your system. So it's not always about taking your credentials, but just clicking on the link, it's like you've made the attack possible, and now they have access to your system and they can do whatever they want to do. So do not even click on these links. Don't see how far they will take you. Don't do that. You could even put yourself in extra trouble. Research the sellers. Research these vendors. You go on social media. One of the attacks that happen easily and it gets people is social media scams, where you will see a legitimate shop. You see a legitimate shop probably from, I think Instagram also does that a lot. You see the shop, they are always posting things every single time. But then if you try to, let's say you try to purchase, you reach out to them, I want to purchase, they're like, okay, what's your location? What's your blah, blah, blah. You give it to them. They're like, purchase before delivery. You make the purchase and then zilch, they are done with you. So that is such a situation where it is legit, like it looks legitimate. They were posting things every day. And once you made the purchase, you reach out, hey, when am I going to get my package? You're going to be like, no response. The next day, no response. But then they will keep posting on the page. They will keep posting on the page to get more victims. So sometimes these pages, what they do is they disable their comments. So you would notice there is a shop. They have, let's say, 2,000 followers, but then they never get a single comment on their post. That should let you know that it's either they are disabling the comments. So let's say they make a post 3 months ago, they disabled the comments when they made that post 3 months ago. Now, 3 months now, they would go back and then enable the comment on that 3 months ago post. So if you are trying to check this though, you'll be like, oh, but they enabled their comments, so there's no way they have disabled. Yes, they know what they are doing. So in a way, always check, review these sellers, check if they have a Google My Business page. If they have, and check the reviews. I recently had an experience where I'm not going to give the specific details, but I contacted a handyman to fix something for me, and then they came in to pick my product. Right now, as at the time I was trying to contact them, I did not see any reviews. And then after I contacted them, and now I think about a month, I wasn't getting my thing back because they took my thing away. And then I realized, I went back and I noticed that after I had contacted them, they now started getting reviews. People were like, these guys are scammers. These guys, I bought something from them and I told them it was defective. They never contacted me again. And I was like, wait a minute. Since when did these reviews start popping up? So it's like the reviews started after I made my purchase, which is a clear case of probably them disabling the reviews, or they just sort of, I don't know how they did it, but the reviews started coming after I'd contacted them. And I almost fell victim until, luckily for me, they sort of reached back out and then they gave me what I asked for. But it took about a month to get what I asked for. So you should always check the reviews, check their ratings, check them for credibility. If you visit a website or you see a page and there's no face attached to the page, because if it's a vendor, they should have probably one day maybe post themselves to say that, hey, I'm the owner of this online shop and I hope you guys make a purchase. If the owner is not making these posts, you should always be suspicious about them. If it's always about the product, always be suspicious. And then if they are reputable or if they are legit, they are less likely to engage in fraudulent activities because they know that they have reviews. They have, let's say they have 20,000 followers and on. But then the followers is not even, the follower count is not even a proof of credibility because people could buy accounts all the time. So for some reason, people prefer to buy on social media because it's easy to get products you really want. Because you could go on Facebook Marketplace and then there's a product you want. You could go on Instagram and then there's a product you want and it's easily accessible as compared to going to legitimate websites. So I can understand, but always research the sellers. Do not just go in and then purchase. Always research the sellers. Now we are getting close to the end of this. And then payment security is always very important. Opt for secure payment options like Visa cards, credit cards, and then digital wallets. So sometimes these POS systems, you put in your card, and then what happens is that they have, one time I saw a video where the POS system is here, and then they purchase Credentials Harvester, right? I've forgotten the name of the tool, but it looks exactly like the POS system. It has the whole keypad and everything, and then they put it on the POS. So anytime you put in your card and you put in your code, what happens is that that thing that is on top is linked to a website. So it captures those credentials and then it sends it to the website for the attacker. And this has happened to even legitimate shops where whoever was the teller or whoever was selling the stuff had done that so that they would be able to have a credential. So sometimes you would purchase something and then let's say 1 week later, you would notice, I think I've watched these documentaries where you purchase something 2 weeks later, you realize that you've purchased another thing for 200 or something from a different shop. And then you are wondering, it's because wherever you made that purchase has been compromised. Also, avoid sharing sensitive information unless it's absolutely necessary. If you visited a site and they're asking you for your location, your card details, even before you sign up, always beware, because what if you don't want to sign up to the service anymore? They already have your card details. So always beware of these and never trust these websites 100%. No matter how big they are, they can still be attacked. So keep records and also check your statements. Keep record of your online transactions for reference. Lucky for us, in this modern age, we have mobile banking where you get notifications every now and then. Everything you do, you get these notifications. So it's a good way to keep record of what is happening so that you could always check for reference. And then also regularly review your bank statements to identify any unauthorized or suspicious activity. For those that do not have mobile banking enabled, you would not even know that you made a transaction, especially on your Visa card, or your debit card, until you get your bank statement. So imagine in a case where you don't even go for your bank statement or you don't even check your bank statement. That means you could be 3 months in before you realize that you made a purchase on Kotokraba.com 3 months ago. So you should always be checking your bank statements to identify unauthorized and suspicious activity so that you would be able to inform your banks and then they will be able to rectify this situation. So in conclusion, by following these tips I've given, you can significantly reduce the risk associated with online shopping. I know most of you would have known all these words, but there's no harm in reiterating these points. Because sometimes we hear something we assume is difficult, or we hear something we assume that, oh, it's going to take a lot of time. But the more you hear it, you are like, oh, let me just try it. And before you know, you are in a better position in security-wise. So it would significantly reduce your risk associated with online shopping. And finally, I would say that stay fit, be proactive, and enjoy a safe and secure online shopping experience this Christmas or these holiday season. Remember, this is not just about Christmas, it's about your online shopping experience from now till infinity. So always make sure that you don't fall victim to some of these attacks. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you being here and joining this session. And surely we would meet up another time. Over to you, Estella.
Thank you so much, Derek. This has been very insightful. So I think we just have to jump right to the question session because there's so many questions coming in. Thank you everyone for joining in and then participating so actively. So we have one from Talca. He's asking that, are there third-party tools or services that can help verify the legitimacy of a website?
So, yeah, that's a good question. In terms of legitimacy, one of the things you could do is that there are websites that you could even say, is this website a scam? Just put in the name of the website. Let's say it's Derek, if it's Derek.com, just say, is Derek.com a scam? You put that on Google, and there are websites that detect if other websites are scam. So you're going to visit those websites, you're going to see a report of the website. It's going to tell you that, hey, people have reported that this website is a scam, so be careful. Sometimes maybe it's new. So if it's new, for me, I would probably check, there are certain tools. I will use a tool like Whois. So Whois is literally Whois. It tells you when the website was created, who registered the website, the location it was registered from. That gives someone like me information to know that, no, if it's an online shop and it exists and it's just 3 weeks old, I have to be very cautious. So Whois is a tool I could use, and also just putting in a scam is whatever website is scam. Google could also provide lots of information. So these two are one of the easiest and sure ways of finding out if whatever website you are visiting is a scam. And I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, so we hope that answers your question, Talcott. So the next question is from Stephen Donko, and he's asking that, does having HTTPS on a website ensure that my information cannot be stolen?
Cannot be stolen?
Yeah.
So HTTPS is for information in transit. So it protects the information while it is being transported from your computer or your web browser to the website you are communicating with. So if you are trying to log into Facebook, it protects you while you are in Ghana. So whilst it's transporting information from Ghana to the servers in the US, that is a protection you have. So in such a case, whilst the information is in transit, it is being protected. It could be intercepted, but it would not make sense to them. So technically, it may be stolen, but they can't use it. 2, after the information has been in transit and it's gone to the target, it's on Facebook servers. That is also a different type of situation, because certain types of security has to be put in place on their end. That is where they have to ensure that their website, their codes are secure, meaning that there are no loopholes in their codes and no one can actually hack them, which is always almost impossible. There would always be a hack. But then if data in transit has its own security, and that is where HTTPS comes in. And then data in storage, that is when they are storing your information or they are using your information, data in processing, that also needs certain types of security to be in place. So HTTPS is just one type of security for transit, but then you have to pray that whoever you are communicating with has the other types of security when they are storing or processing your information. Yeah.
Okay, so on to the next question. So this is from Yao. So Yao is asking, what about if public Wi-Fi has a displayed password? How safe is that?
If public Wi-Fi has a displayed password?
Yes.
Okay, so I try to understand what displayed password is, but if it means that the password is just there, so everyone can just look at it and then just sign in, the whole point is, yes, you could use public Wi-Fi, but then do not use it to do anything that involves your personal information, right? So maybe you just want to check a website, an informational website, it's fine. You can use public Wi-Fi, but don't connect to public Wi-Fi and then try to make a transaction. Don't connect to public Wi-Fi and then try to sign in into maybe any website that you to sign in. Don't use public Wi-Fi to do it. If you have already signed in, let's say if it's Netflix, you've already signed in and you just want to watch a movie or something, that one you could just use the public Wi-Fi for it. But if you are now trying to sign in and on and on and on, we don't recommend that you do that. Always avoid such situations, because even if the Wi-Fi has a password, someone could have already also joined that same Wi-Fi and they are monitoring the information, or they could even be performing attacks against you. So always be careful when it comes to public Wi-Fi.
Yes, so always be careful when it comes to public Wi-Fi. So another question from Stephen. What measures can users take to ensure their own online security beyond relying on HTTPS?
So their own personal security, I think we mentioned some of them during the session. And the first of them was secure passwords, or strong passwords, which is, it looks like it's overblown or we've heard it so many times, but it's essential. Your passwords are very important. If you feel like you are using the same passwords, try to use what we call a password manager. 1Password, LastPassword are examples, and they are all free. Also, make sure that you don't go into public spaces. When I say public spaces, I don't mean don't go outside. I mean, don't use publicly available computers for personal stuff. Don't visit a friend and then use their computer to log in, and then you may actually forget to log out for whatever reason. And then I'm not saying your friends are bad, but then a friend of a friend of a friend could be bad. And then if they have access to the device, it could also be very detrimental. So some of these things, I think there are so many things we could do in terms of personal security, because HTTPS is not the responsibility of the end users or us, the end users. It's the responsibility of the website or the company you're dealing with. It's their responsibility. But then for us, strong passwords are very important. Enabling two-factor authentication is very important. There's also what we call Authenticator, which is like an advanced form of two-factor authentication. And then there are so many things or so many add-ons we could do personally, but I feel like these 2 or 3 things are like the basic ones. And if we could even do that, we put ourselves in a better position than not doing them at all.
All right, so let's take another question from Donsa Godfred. So he's asking that how are hackers able to intercept data in transit on the internet?
So how are attackers able to intercept data in transit? So to intercept data in transit, I think first of all, if you are both on the same network, or if the attacker is already on the network you are on, it's very easy to intercept it. I know that we could have situations where you're like, oh, I'm in Ghana, the attacker is in, let's say, the US. How is the attacker able to intercept? That is the interesting part. It is possible. So if I'm at home, and then let's say I have Wi-Fi, not even public, I have Wi-Fi, and then maybe my sister is connected to that same Wi-Fi, it's very easy for me to just be monitoring that communication channel. We can use a tool like Wireshark to just monitor what is happening on that network. Now, in the case of remotely, let's say you are home, you are in Akboba, let's say Kaswa, and I've been able to compromise one of the devices on your network. Maybe not you, but I've been able to compromise one of the devices on your network. That means that technically I'm on your network. So that way I could also use other tools to actually monitor what you are doing on the network, and then I could actually intercept it. So with intercepting, you should probably be on the same network with the attacker, and don't think that you are home so you are safe. As long as any device that is closer to your network is compromised, you can be monitored, and your data or your information can be intercepted. Now, that is like one of the attacks, but the attacker doesn't even need to compromise the device on your network to compromise you. It's very easy, no matter where you are and no matter where they are, as long as you are connected to the internet, it's very easy for an attacker to reach you. Yeah.
Hey, so we have another one from Talca. So he's asking, are there any red flags we should be aware of when receiving promotional emails or advertisement during the holiday season?
So red flags, I think I mentioned some of them, but that's a good question. So these attackers are very smart, so we can never underestimate their power. So always look at the sender's email address. It's very important. But then the whole thing is, it can be spoofed or it can be faked as well. So even if you look at that, it could still be spoofed. Sometimes what we will do as a professional is that I'll pick that email and then review the header information. We call that header information. So that header information will sometimes tell me the IP address where the email is coming from. So I'm just going to put the IP address on Google, and then it's going to tell me the location or the country where that thing is coming from. So that way I know that, okay, Amazon servers are in the US. How is this email coming to me from, let's say, South Africa, let's say Ghana? That makes me suspicious. So looking at the sender's email, also when there are any links in the email, do not click on them, right? Because if it's coming from the legitimate, let's say if it's Amazon, you should know that even if you get these promotional offers, if it's legitimate, there's a way it's supposed to look. So look at it, but then don't click on the link. Even if you want to click on the links, if you have a computer, just put your mouse on the link, just hover the mouse on the link, and it's going to show you the real link at the bottom. So sometimes you could just do that, don't click, but then just check the link if it's really the legitimate URL or the legitimate website before you even click on it. So you just have to be cautious. And if it's really legitimately, let's say if it's Amazon, if it's legitimately coming from Amazon or any other promotional website, you could go on their website because you know their website, go there directly and then check. Because if the promo is coming from them, it will surely be on their website as well. So do that extra check and always be cautious of what you receive in your email, because a lot of attacks come through your emails. So always be mindful of that. And I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, we hope that answered your question. So just a follow-up question on the public Wi-Fi usage. So on the flip side, Stephen Donko is asking that would having a password on public Wi-Fi make it safe? So the other one was about displaying the password. What if the public Wi-Fi, you have access to a password that is given to you? Does that make that safe?
It provides an extra layer of security, yes. But then because it is public, that means the fact that you have access to the password means an attacker could also be in the same geographical location and also have access to that password and be logged on. Now, let's cast our mind back to the situation where if you're on the same network with an attacker, their work is actually easier. So I'm not saying you can always be hacked. No, the security of the device you are using comes into play. Security of whatever website you are visiting comes into play. But even if there's a password on it, yes, information will be secured or encrypted. But however, it also means that the attacker could also have access to it. So it's good to have the password, but just do not do anything sensitive while you are connected to such public Wi-Fi.
Okay, so we have a lot of questions, but we have to wrap up now. So thank you all so much for joining in today's session. Thank you for your amazing participation. We really love it. And thank you, Derek Brown, for the comprehensive insights you have shared and equipped us with to shop online safely this Christmas and even beyond the holiday season. So let's all remember that knowledge is key when it comes to protecting yourself online. And thank you all so much again for joining us today. So before ending today's program, I want you to know more about an amazing online resource that you may find helpful, and that's the eLibrary USA. The eLibrary USA is the state-of-the-art digital library with 9 premium electronic databases that include digital newspapers, magazines, journals, videos, and dissertations. So usually this resource is only available to use in person at our American spaces. But with the global pandemic, we are opening up access to this amazing resource. So if you are interested, sign up using the link that can be found in the comment section below. And this program was proudly brought to you by the U.S. Embassy Ghana, American Corner Boba in partnership with Mobile Web Ghana. And we wish you all the best in this holiday season. That concludes our program for today. Follow us on YouTube, U.S. Embassy Ghana, for our amazing virtual programs coming up. Have a great weekend. Bye.